when you're a small contractor, every job matters. Every proposal matters. Every, opportunity to get the next job matters. When you don't get those, when you fail, when you present a job to somebody and you don't get it, and that happens a couple times in a row, you get really discouraged. And it was about that time that I understood. I was like, you know what? I am no longer a carpenter. I am a salesperson.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals.
Yeah, mostly. As always, thank you, Mr. Matt Wilson, for the vibrant voiceover for the intro. Check his podcast out. It's called the Mostly Marketing Podcast. Great friend of mine, going way back into the radio years. This is a podcast powered by Christian Brothers Automotive. If you are looking of Spring Hill, Christian Brothers Automotive of Spring Hill, the proprietor there, good friend of mine, Jason Miller, they've got the best snack game in town, fair pricing. They're going to really do a great job no matter what kind of job you need on your car, except mainly for tires. He has other people that handle those kinds of things, tires and wheels, brake sensors, or anything to do with tires. But everything else on a car he pretty much can handle, and you should go check those guys out. Christian Brothers of Spring Hill. Thank you for the sponsorship. Man, a lot going on in Nashville. Have you been up on all the things that have been happening here lately, Mr. Hilson Merrill? With Merrill Construction Group? There's
so much going on, it's hard to keep up with everything.
Have you seen the sale of the big piece of land downtown? It was like a
scrapyard?
Yeah, it was like 38 acres or something like that.
240 something million bucks.
Was it 240 million?
Something like that.
Wow.
Riverfront property.
Gotta love that.
Man.
Do you think that back in the day, you've been here all your life, you're a Nashville native.
I am from Nashville. Grew up in Nashville.
Do you remember being in that part of town back in the 80s or the 90s and going, some guy is going to sell this and just make a buck?
I didn't have the forethought to do so. I don't know if I went to East Nashville when I was a kid. It was maybe later in life when I finally discovered East Nashville and thought, man, this is a whole nother city over here.
It really is. Yeah. It's kind of funny coming here from Vegas. Vegas, we got used to and got spoiled by the grid layout because we lived there for 4 years. So you could always find a way around traffic if need be. Not so much here.
Nashville likes to name one street 3 different things.
Yeah.
It turns into different names once you cross over an intersection.
And doesn't really let you know, especially if you're new here.
Does not let you know. You got to know what you're doing.
In other news, there's a lot of stuff going on in Nashville as well. A lot of breweries being bought and sold. Bearded Iris.
I saw that.
You saw that?
That's interesting.
Are you a beer guy, like a microbrew guy?
I would not say I'm a beer connoisseur.
I've become so bougie about it, man.
Well, your palate is getting refined, I guess.
It really is. And much to my detriment, doesn't exactly not too well for the belly.
That's right.
Especially IPAs.
Yep, those will fill you up pretty quickly.
My gosh, just bread in a can.
Honestly, I love a good Coors latte at the end of the day.
Coors latte. The other thing that got sold was Southern Grist. There's a partnership, or I believe it's finalized. And for some reason, two breweries, big breweries, got sold by two outside companies. The cool thing is that the Southern Grist was bought by a company called Zool Brewing out of Knoxville.
Okay.
And they've got amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. They got a PB&J sour that'll knock your socks off. It's called Mixtape.
Check that out.
Yeah. A lot of stuff happening in Nashville.
A lot of things happening. Banks are merging.
What's the banks?
Pinnacle and Synovus. Big deal.
Oh,
huge
wow.
deal.
I heard something about Volunteer and Fourth Capital as well.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. It's like you growing up here. Was that kind of activity happening that you remember that, did you pick up on?
Growing up here, I went and visited family members who lived in all kinds of places. I have a lot of people in Mississippi and the Mississippi Delta and places like that. And so I'd go visit them and talk about small towns.
Oh, yeah.
So growing up, I felt like I was from a big city, but then I went to Chicago or New York and places like that. And then I realized, well, really, we're just a big town.
Yeah.
However, now it seems like we're catching up to the Charlottes and Atlantas of the world. But yes, still behind, but still very much evolving as a city and finding our voice.
What do you think about all that, especially being a native?
Well, it's different. Growing up, I went to school at the same school, K through 12, and the way I got there was we drove through 12 South. Mm-hmm. And I remember Becker's Bakery and Corner Music and places like that. And if only we had the forethought back then to buy Becker's Bakery. And
who would have thought? Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Because 12 South, what back then was
a very transitional neighborhood.
Really?
And, it wasn't, I'm not going to say it wasn't safe per se, but it wasn't a destination by any means.
Not what it is today.
It is certainly not what it was certainly not what it is today.
I would dare say it's bougie.
It's a little bougie.
Yeah. I remember going to Forks Drum Closet.
That's what it was, Forks.
Yeah. Corner Music was there too.
I think they were like right next door to each other or something. Yep. And I will say that, traffic is way different now.
Oh.
And
I imagine that 12 South looks the same traffic-wise, and the infrastructure is the same, but the traffic capacity is far increased.
Far increased. And, the city's evolving. It's growing. And I can't say that it's not bad. Mm-hmm. I can't say that it's not good. I think that there are great things about an evolving and growing city. And there's going to be challenges. But I think overall for the population of Nashville, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said Chicago and New York earlier. Infrastructure for them early on was, I don't know if it was easy, but I guess it was easier because they're more flat. Manhattan is on an island, a flat island generally. Chicago, from what I understand, I've never been there, is flat. When you've got hills and stuff like that are around here, it's tough to put a grid down. Other than, downtown Nashville, which is
not only hills, but underground. We're basically sitting on rock.
Right.
Really hard to do anything underground, as evidenced by the boring company coming in, trying to build us a tunnel from the convention center to the airport.
Dude, if he can do it in Vegas, he'll be able to do it here.
I guess so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's Caliche out in the desert. That's like digging through concrete.
Yeah.
I know that personally.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So you grew up here. I don't know if you might be the first native I've had on.
Really?
Can you actually, is there a possibility, and I ask this tongue in cheek, to have a native status? We used to joke around in Vegas that it took you 6 months to get native status in Vegas. And I actually asked that on Facebook one day. I'm like, so what's the typical time frame for you to be considered a Tennessee native? And people took me literally. You got to be born here. Yeah, I get it. Okay, maybe I'll rephrase the question. At what time frame do you become a Tennessean?
That's an interesting question. I guess it's when you pledge an allegiance to UT or Vanderbilt. You understand that the Titans are here for moral support. And
hey, man, they almost made it a couple of years ago.
Sure. Yeah. It's been a rebuilding decade, it seems like.
I remember when the Titans came to town. I was way before I moved here. I was working in radio in Connecticut, and they were going, it was the Oilers that were moving. It was a 98, 99, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it was my first radio job, and we were all following it because one of the guys who worked at the station was a huge Oilers fan, and by proxy was going to become a huge Tennessee fan. So it would come up in a conversation a lot, especially the names that they were throwing around. Do you remember some of the names for the team?
Oh gosh, that was so long ago. And I wasn't a huge football fan when that was going on, just because, I don't know. It just wasn't what my family did on Saturday, was watch college football, or on Sunday, because there just was no NFL allegiance at that point.
Didn't really have a reason for one.
No, not really. And I'll never forget visiting my grandfather, or my step grandfather actually, who lived down in Florida, and my grandmother, they were huge Alabama fans, because my My paternal grandfather was an All-American at Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't ever understand why my dad didn't, it was not the religion of football in our house.
Right.
It may be on, and my dad was interested.
It was casual.
It was very casual.
We were the same way.
Yeah.
We grew up in the Northeast. So my father was kind of just like a casual Giants fan.
Yeah.
We had a selection of the Jets, the Giants, and, essentially the Patriots, but that was about it. Hockey was actually very, very big up there.
That's a new thing that's here since I've lived here too. I mean, talk about evolving and, having two professional sports teams here. Talks of an MLB team coming here. I mean, this is a much different city than it was even 25 years ago. Well,
20 years ago is when we got here.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and say we're Tennesseans at this point.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
We moved in here in Spring Hill. I'm literally 6 minutes from here. And we're still in the same house. Yeah. At the time, the price of the house was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're spending this much money. But then it was like, that was a good investment.
Yeah.
Especially now.
It's worked out.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jason Miller. I'm the owner of Christian Brothers Automotive here in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We fix cars here, both European and domestic, from simple oil changes to complete engine rebuilds and replacements. Most important thing, though, is while you're waiting, we've got the best snack game in town, and we invite you to make yourself at home and get to know us, and we treat you like family. We're located right across the street from Walmart on Highway 31 right here in Spring Hill. Let us know that you heard about us on this ad, and we'll give you 10% off your next oil change. So stop on in and see us in downtown Spring Hill. Do we even have a downtown in Spring Hill?
So tell me about your beginnings and getting into what you do now. You went to school here? Did you go to college here?
I did go to college, not here. Actually, after high school, I went to a small liberal arts school about an hour and a half away from here, and that lasted through my sophomore year, and decided that school was a little too small for me.
Right.
Then I transferred to Ole Miss, where I got a general business degree. And during college and even after college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Right.
But I just had a sense that we'd work out. We'd figure it out. So after college, I went on a soul searching journey and went out west and worked at a ski resort and fly fished and just had a kind of a sabbatical off of just trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Right.
I realized that if I stayed there, I probably would never leave, just because I loved the lifestyle so much, and I love outdoors and doing things outside. So I decided to come back to Nashville, and I got a job working for a guy who owned a construction company, and I just was a laborer. I started toting lumber and
cleaning up garbage
and loading people's tools for them and that kind of stuff. And then, as I spent a little time there, people slowly let me use their tools, and I really just fell in love with the trade of carpentry, and quickly picked up on the skills and the knowledge, and would go home at night and look up on the internet how to build a dormer or how to figure out a rafter pattern and things like that. And just quickly became a trim carpenter, and was running a crew and doing that kind of stuff, and then just decided that I thought I could do it better. And do it on my own. And
a trim carpenter, that's not easy. That's the finishing, the artisan aspect of carpentry.
Yeah,
essentially.
I really like the fine motor skills needed. That's what really brought me to carpentry. I think I'm very dexterous, and I like tools and doing things with my hands, and I liked the problem solving and the math that was involved with carpentry. And yeah, I always have seen it as like arts and crafts on a big scale.
Right. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because you have the guys, I guess, is a carpenter like a framer, a guy who goes and frames a house, or are they considered to be framers? Just from vernacular
Well, I mean,
semantics
you know, it's
standpoint.
interesting. Like the carpenters that work for us are very multifaceted, I should say. Like a lot of them kind of understand the whole process of construction from footer to finish. And, you know, they can frame and they can do trim work. They can install windows. And I just think it's a good, it provides some consistency on a job site when you're able to have like the same people there doing these different skills.
Now, you go to college. There was a stigma, at least when I was coming up. When I went to college, I didn't make it through college, and I had to go and work for my dad in a trade. After a time being in high school of being told, well, like trades, we had a trade school in Danbury, Connecticut, where, well, hey, if you couldn't hack high school, you could be relegated to going there. That was pretty much like the notion. And it had, like, being in a trade had a stigma attached to it. Did you grow up with that at all? Was that a part of your upbringing? It was certainly for me.
You know, luckily I have parents that were just only encouraging and encouraged me to explore all of my interest, whatever they were.
Yeah.
And, you know, in college, I had friends who were going to New York to work on Wall Street. I had guys going into the insurance business, the banking business. Some of them were going to med school. And I knew school was done for me when I graduated college. I was ready for the school of hard knocks, I guess. I never thought of it that way just because I was confident enough in what I was doing just because I felt like that's what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And it never was, well, am I going to be looked upon differently because I'm not going into a white collar job? And I think some people probably did think like, I don't know what Hilson's doing. He's just out there hammering and building stuff. But it really became a passion of mine. And I would even be building stuff in my free time just because I enjoyed it so much.
The reason why I ask is that was my experience. You know, I came out of not finishing college, so it was like the first failure, if you will. And with that mindset, guidance counselors saying, well, if you don't go to college, forget about succeeding at anything. That was pretty much the notion throughout the 90s, I would say, early 90s when I graduated. So going into that and then having to do, you know, what I had to do. It was, I needed a job. My dad took me on. He taught me the trade. That led to the electrical trade. I had a self-esteem issue where I felt less than. Plus, I was in a part of the country was a majority of the working class was white collar. You know, we'd for the phone system company, we'd be going into doctors' offices, lawyers' offices, a lot of white collar. And dude, they would look down their nose at you.
Absolutely.
They would consider you less than, you know. My father would always say, look, consider yourself to be the hero. And it's funny that with what we do here at J Squared, that's one of our mantras, be the hero.
Yeah.
And it's based off of what my father used to say. You need to flip your mindset and act like you're there to fix a problem they can't fix. You're their hero in a sense. I never bought into it back then, but I also felt like I was meant to do something else that fit my personality. And that was eventually became radio. And that's when I really found my true, I was like, this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was that it was another low paying job. You know, I was doing well in the electrical field. Like they were giving raises. I'm like, my heart's just not into this, you know? And they gave me an option one day, like, well, you can either adjust your attitude or you can leave. And I said, I appreciate the option and I thank you for giving me a heads up, but I think I'll leave. And they were a great company to work for. I have nothing against them. Nikon Communications, Nikon Electric up in Connecticut. They're still around. Great guys, great family that owns them. But I have a much deeper appreciation for trades now.
You know, I back to what you were talking about, just kind of how you're viewed and how you feel about yourself. I think it's important for everybody just to understand, what does success mean to you?
It's so subjective.
And if success is the admiration and attaboys from somebody else, well, then you're not going to be true to yourself. In really finding what it is that makes you tick.
Yeah.
And you're only going to really be successful in things that you're genuinely interested in.
Right.
And
it's got to float your boat.
Yeah, it's got to float your boat because, the better you are at that thing, the more valuable you will be, whether that's monetarily or in any other way.
Are you finding a shift in the mindset of the next generation coming up, more of a willingness to learn a trade with people coming on board?
It's that's an interesting question. I think that for a long time the trades were dying.
Right.
A lot of
people, talent for them.
The talent for the trades, or the people willing to go into the trades, and quite possibly even the caliber of people going into there. I do think there is ever so slight of a shift that people are seeing trades as a good option. I don't think that we'll see the results of that for quite some time, but I do think that people are looking to the trades and understanding like, oh, well, wow, I can go and make $75,000 or $80,000 a year within a couple years of being a carpenter, and
not carry $150,000 worth of student debt.
if that's as low as you can get to college these days.
But it's, I told my kids, look, one of the mantras I've spoken to them as we brought them up is that, look, you need to figure out and understand that, you're late teens, you get out of high school. If you can go to college and not take on massive amounts of debt, great, then go. Understand it's networking now. It's a big networking group that you're getting into. Of course, make sure you do your grades. I said, I don't care if you have a communications degree. Just get a degree,
My dad said something to me one time. He said, son, college is an education.
Yeah.
Some of which you get in the classroom.
Right.
And how true is that? I mean, you learn how to be social. You learn how to talk to girls and ask them out. You learn how to interact with groups of people and understand and how to, in a sense, build your team of your people and your peers that are around you.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, with your business degree that you said you got, do you find a lot like you leaning on that portion of the education and what you're doing today, or was it learning from other business owners and coming across, because you actually got in front of, from what I understand, we've done like a pre-interview in the form of a video project that we did not too long ago. So I know these things about you.
Right.
But you actually had like a mastermind experience as you were developing your business.
I did. I got some good advice when I was maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years into the business and really had hit a plateau and I couldn't quite see a way to, move forward or get bigger or improve and do those things. So somebody gave me some really good advice and kind of suggested I join this peer group called Remodelers Advantage. Can't recommend it enough. Great system and support group and offerings that they provide. And it put me in front of companies that are still to this day much bigger than I am.
Right.
But it showed me that you could create a professional business in the construction industry, which kind of goes against a lot of the norms.
Because you have a lot of, chucks in a truck.
A lot of chucks in a truck. You got a lot of people that are, everybody's got a friend or has experienced the horror story of where they started a job and they don't ever finish. It takes twice as long and costs twice as much.
Right. Right. And it's funny because you're learning from the people that have probably had that path, learned the hard way, so to speak. And then you've probably shortened your runway in terms of accelerating your business.
I think that we exponentially increased the speed at which we were growing having joined that peer group and being exposed to that and understanding the professionalism that needs to be brought into this industry, which kind of goes against the grain.
Because of the stigma that the trades had,
Yeah, maybe a little bit. A
lot of the guys that got into, getting back to what we were talking about, getting into a trade, it was something, well, I need something to do to make money. It was almost like similar to the car. When I sold cars, you would have people in the car business that were there because it was a job.
Yeah.
Then there were the people that separated themselves and saw it as a career, as a profession.
That's interesting. I think that for a long time, I thought when I was a carpenter and most of the jobs I had before then, I thought of as a job.
Right.
And I've tried to create an environment in which this is not just a job. This is a vocation. This is a career path. And let's try to create some upward mobility for some people that work for us so that's the best way I know how to support somebody.
Of course. Yeah. And it makes the perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's when I was asked to either correct my attitude or leave. That was their pivot in business saying, hey, we want to preserve our culture. And admittedly, I was probably not a good culture fit because I had other aspirations at the time. I knew there was something in me that I had to get out of my system.
Yeah, maybe that was the little kick in the pants you needed.
That's exactly. And I'll never forget the instance, how old I was. I was up on a scissor lift helping somebody put in, I don't know, we were pulling wire in for a big commercial project. And I was like, I'm sorry you feel that way. And I'm sorry if I've caused any trouble, but I guess I'll just, I can't really correct my attitude because my heart's not into this.
Yeah.
It's undeniable. But it's really given me, like I said, an appreciation for the trades. I'm happy to see guys like Mike Rowe out there doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's reintroducing and reinvigorating the notion of a trade being a good career, especially in the age of AI.
Absolutely.
My goodness.
Absolutely.
It's a great
I'll
position
say this
to be
too
in.
about understanding and knowing a trade. My wife thanks me almost all the time when I'm able to fix a problem at the house and talk about the thousands of dollars that we've saved because we don't have to call the plumber or the electrician just because, well, I can run to the hardware store and grab what we need and fix that.
Yeah.
Or the time in which we are down that system, whatever it may be.
It comes in handy. It really does.
They don't call it handyman for no reason.
That's very true. Does your garage door sound like this? If it does, it's screaming for help. Call Incredible Doors, 931-348-DOOR. We're making garage doors in Murray and Williamson counties work better and sound better. We just make them incredible again. Go to IncredibleDoors.com or call 931-348-DOOR. Follow us on Facebook for specials on maintenance visits, keypads, and other items. 931-348-DOOR. IncredibleDoors.com. So you started working for somebody, you got introduced to the trade of carpentry,
Yep.
A little bit more rounded than that, and a little bit of electrical, plumbing, HVAC perhaps?
I think that was more just when I was a carpenter and was kind of in my prime of terms of what I could do ability wise. And at that point, it gave me confidence that, hey, I think I can just fix about anything.
Yeah.
Just because it's not necessarily what it is that you're doing. It's a mindset of being curious about how something works and understanding how it goes together.
Right.
Because mechanically, things are actually really simple if you just take the time to really look at it and study it.
It's when in the case of plumbing, and I got to get underneath the sink to fix something, which I've done many a time.
Sure.
Bending yourself like a pretzel to get into those situations, to, unscrew a fixture on a sink and stuff like that, and not having the right. I'm like, oh, there's actually a tool for that.
That's right. That's right.
So I went out to Home Depot and bought it. It's mainly the physical element of it, which kind of, for me, it gets frustrating, but I do it from time to time, and I like to get my hands dirty. I've got I call them my trade tattoos, scars, and all sorts of stuff. I would imagine that plays well. How does because you're doing high end work.
Yes.
Does your clientele appreciate the notion that you're out there you're still getting your hands dirty? You're still willing to put a tool belt on.
Absolutely. Does it happen often? No.
Right.
But I think that they're having an understanding of how all this really works and not just being the guy in the office with a clipboard.
Right.
I think has been a huge benefit to the company and our clients.
Do you have competitors that don't have that kind of experience that are running companies like that?
Sure. And yes.
Yeah.
And I think that there are some others that also do have a lot of experience. So I don't want to discredit those guys.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah.
I ran into a guy yesterday who just got into the plumbing business. He took it over, and he's like, well, I've run other businesses and ran teams and stuff like that. I said, but have you done plumbing?
Right.
He's like, well, I'm just really good at running the business and the teams. I go, yeah, but there's still a disconnect.
There is a disconnect. And, it's interesting. I've seen a lot of small plumbing companies, small electrical companies, things like that getting gobbled up by investors.
Yeah.
And then I've also seen a lot of private equity coming in and gobbling up a lot of small mom and pop shops. I'm not smart enough to understand why. I guess they have a system and they want the market share, and they basically buy the labor force and all that and just adapt it and run it more efficiently.
Yeah.
As a volume game.
That happened in the garage door industry here.
That's
locally.
correct. Yeah.
Big company came in and I guess with a lot of money, bought up a lot of the mom and pop independently owned garage door guys around here. And now we got a steak sauce company that does mostly garage doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess they're trying to get, the majority of the market share by doing that.
Yeah. It's funny because in one instance that I'm aware of, the thing they bought wasn't the right thing. They wanted to basically, eliminate the competition, but also absorb all the customer lists and stuff like that, which is great. But that doesn't guarantee that those customers will still buy from you.
Correct.
Because a lot of these situations, they're buying from the person. That's an interesting conversation to have. Do you feel like a lot of your relationships you're making with your clients, does it start with you? Or is it a corporately led
I would
approach?
say there's a little bit of both. Yeah. I mean, being from here and being, keyed into all the school groups and church groups and just part of your life, and you try to, let people understand what you're doing. That is, in a sense, some small form of marketing. But I do think that we are also getting found organically.
Yeah.
And there's a brand starting to be associated with our company.
Yeah, which eventually over time happens, especially as your customers talk to other people.
Absolutely. And the goal being is that brand very much overtakes any kind of personal connection.
Right.
So that
the Dave Ramsey.
A little bit of approach. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he built his company on his name, and he was the guy. But he, as understandably as he gets older, he's like, I really don't want to be,
right, doing everything.
Right. I mean, he hasn't worked in his business for quite some time. I would think it's gotten so large, but his name is still attached to it.
Absolutely,
much like yours is.
It is.
Yes. With Merrill Construction Group.
That's correct.
When did you start that?
This was 2010.
Year of the flood.
That's correct. We started the company. I think the date is something like February 1st, 2010 is on our
3 months
Secretary of State LLC filing or whatever it is. And people thought I was crazy. Mm-hmm. That I don't know if people remember, but at that time, it was just not a great time for construction, and not a lot of opportunities at that point. But I kind of saw that as an opportunity for let me get in here. And at that point, it was me and a truck full of tools fixing my parents' friends' houses.
Yeah.
Leaky windows and things like that. And I saw it as an opportunity to just get some stuff going. Let me see what I can do. Can I drum up enough business? And then maybe when this economy turns around, we'll be set up to really capitalize on that.
Yeah, because we were 2 years after the big meltdown.
That's correct.
And a lot of the real estate went through the floor, value-wise.
Yep.
Was it around that time? Because I wasn't really plugged into all the things that I'm into now. I was still in radio back then with Mix 92.9 and Jack FM, somewhat insulated because they were a very well-run company, and we were like, thankfully, very insulated from the goings on of the layoffs and furloughs and stuff like that. Did you find around 2010 that there was a little bit of a turning point? Was still people still reeling at that point?
I was 26. What did I know? Yeah. All I knew is that I was doing a couple odds and ends jobs here and there, and then the flood happened. And then people knew I was in construction and they were desperate.
Right.
And so we figured it out. That forced me to hire some people, and we did a few jobs to like a restoration type jobs and, get people back in their houses. And
so a lot of insurance company work, that kind of thing?
Not a ton of insurance claims. This was more people that were just like, look, the insurance thing is going to be a nightmare. All I want you to do is come in and fix this, get me back in here. Let's document it the whole way. I'll deal with the insurance on the back end.
Right.
And it worked. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of kept going after the flood stuff. I mean, that lasted, 9 or 12 months. And then it was just like, oh, hey, we've got a kitchen we'd love for you to do. Or, hey, we want to replace all of our windows. Or, can you build me a screen porch? And then it kept evolving. And then we kept needing some systems, and we needed some processes, and how are we going to do payroll and all those things. And you just kind of figure it out.
Because it's like what you do, even from like, I call it starting a business is akin to, let's say, giving birth, right?
Yes.
Baby comes out. It's learning how to, it's acclimating to its environment. Eventually it starts learning how to roll over. Mm-hmm. Then it learns how to stand, then walk, scoot around the couch, that kind of thing. Those are actually stages of business. But There's also a metaphor here for what you do, building a house from the ground up. First 3 to 5 years, I would say, are what? Foundation?
That's correct.
Laying?
Yep. Foundation. The owner is doing it all. Estimating, project management, invoicing, bookkeeping, payroll, hiring and firing, answering phones, doing everything every hat that there is in a business, the owner is doing that first 3 to 5 years.
If somebody told you that at the beginning, would you have still started the business? Or did you know that going in?
I didn't know what it was going to be. I'd like to tell people that I had some vision and some forethought and things like that. It wasn't that calculated. It was more, I don't want to work for that guy anymore. I think I can do this better. Let's give it a shot.
Right.
And I never liked working for anybody.
Right.
I just didn't feel like and all the jobs that I had were hourly jobs.
Yeah.
And so I never felt like that time I had control over what I could do.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
Take time off, somebody else dictating how much I can make and all that stuff.
I wanted to be in control of my own destiny.
Right.
And luckily, so far, knock on wood, it's worked out.
If you had to go back and tell yourself something, what would it be?
Keep going. It's gonna be really hard at times.
What are those times? Talk about that.
Well, when you're a small contractor, every job matters. Every proposal matters. Every, opportunity to get the next job matters. And when you don't get those, when you fail, mm-hmm. when you present a job to somebody and you don't get it, and that happens a couple times in a row, you get really discouraged. And it was about that time that I understood. I was like, you know what? I am no longer a carpenter. I am a salesperson. And the best thing I could do for myself right now is get some formal sales training.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Good for you.
And so I went, and this was one of the many consultants I've paid over the years. So I went and did, a lot of people have heard of the Sandler sales system, or Sandler selling, or Sandler sales is what it is. And it just put a process to selling. And I never thought of it that way. And so it was just a good thing for me to do. And it really helped me understand how to do it. But then I had an epiphany one time that I was like, I don't think I'm selling the right thing. Most contractors are going to go, and their selling presentation is going to look like a spreadsheet and a scope of work. But that's not what Merrill Construction Group sells. And there's hundreds of people out there that can build you a kitchen. But what is the experience going to be like? What we provide is an experience like none other. We're going to do everything. So we learn to sell to that.
Yeah.
And then we found success in really highlighting what our differentiating factors are.
I call it, what's the tip of the spear and what's the biggest problem you solve? That's selling.
That's selling.
Identifying the problem. And if you can solve the problem, you get paid for it, But
it's also, how do you solve the problem?
Oh, of course.
Not the solution, but the process of providing that solution.
Right.
Which I think is important,
and
especially in this space, because we're getting married to people for 6, 8, 9, 12 months, or even longer in some cases, and we like for it to be a good marriage.
I would imagine a lot of it is figuring out in the beginning, that setting those expectations,
Yes.
That, some things, this will get messy from time to time, literally and figuratively. It's going to take 12 to 18 months. You have to be okay with that. There's going to be alternative living arrangements or discomfort during this thing. It's going to happen. That's just how this works.
And it's going to cost a lot.
Yeah.
I've always thought that bad news never gets better with time. So, might as well just be upfront with folks and tell them, it's going to be a year and it's going to cost this much, because I don't want to be the guy that sets your expectations up and then failed.
Which is funny, because I would imagine competition may be doing that. I have, to your point, had situations when I was in the car business that when I just started being, not that I was dishonest with people, that's not what I'm saying, but when I was overly honest, when I would tell them, well, you're financing, you're making money off of us. I'm like, well, yeah, we are. We were allowed to make a point or two. We're probably going to be somewhere in that scope.
Sure.
It's a profit center for us. And typically they would like, you just admitted that to me. Yeah. We're here to make money. We're a business.
Yeah.
And
matter of fact,
it would take the wind out of their sails.
Yeah. And, people have come to me and, tried to figure out how much we're making off of them. In the end, what I say is, well, I either go one of two directions. I then start to ask, well, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
And, I'm an attorney. Okay, well, what's your hourly rate? Okay, well, how much do you? And then they get real quiet after that.
Yeah. What are you breaking my balls for?
Right. And, in the end, though, I think the softer approach is look, yes, we are here. We're not doing this for fun.
Yeah.
We're here to make money. But trust me, you want me to make money so that we will be here in 10 years when you call us to come fix something or to, come do another project or those things. Like you want us to be around.
Do you warranty your work to a certain extent?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
we do have a formal warranty, and I don't think we've ever referenced it when people have called us to say, well, can you come and this has happened or whatever. 9 times out of 10, we're just going to go fix it.
Right. You're not even going to look at it and say, well, you did this project at this point in time and your warranty. You're just going to go ahead and be the hero.
Well, be the hero. Yeah. And, as long as it's a reasonable,
of course,
thing.
Are you familiar with like Mercedes-Benz in Music City up by the airport, the Ferrari dealership? The ownership group of that, they're huge believers in that and empowering their people. Like if you ever want to do a course study on culture building, they're doing it. They're doing a really fabulous job and have since the CEO bought them or started the company probably 20 years ago at this point. Big culture guy, healthy culture guy. One of the things they do is making sure to empower their people that if they have a customer upset, any employee has the power to rectify, hey, what do we need to do? Because they found that if you spend somewhere in the range of like $100 to $300, it'll solve the problem and make the customer happy.
Right.
And they're like, and
we're talking about $100,000 cars.
Right.
Plus.
Yeah. I really don't like this. And okay, you know what? We'll just go ahead and take care of it.
Yeah, let's just take care of that.
And make you happy. No muss, no fuss. Because that's equity, market equity for people to start chattering. Because they could start talking. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They could talk goodly or badly about you.
That's right. And, as big as Nashville's getting, it's still a small town.
It really is.
We especially where we work, it's people talk. Mm-hmm. And we want them saying good things.
Yeah. So where are you? I mean, you want to talk about like just not financially, but, where are you now? And then where do you want to be next 5-10 years or so moving forward?
Growth is a funny topic.
Mm-hmm.
When some people say growth, they say, oh, I want to be, we want to do more revenue and, have just more employees and things like that. Well, that doesn't really make sense to me. I think growth is more about how can you do what you're doing, but do it better.
Mm-hmm.
Be more efficient or, maybe squeeze some more dollars out of the revenue that you are doing, then kind of focus on growth, like get good at doing what you're doing. Because growth can sometimes just mean like, hey, we're doing exactly what we were doing last year, but I was able to work like 30% less.
Yeah.
Like time is the most valuable commodity. So how can we free up people's time? That to me is most important. But I will say that I think that our company is in kind of the, middle-aged stage of life.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of systems. We've got a lot of good things happening. But there's still some things to work on and to mature in. And we're not quite to the golden years yet.
I mean, Amazon has those problems.
Absolutely.
Microsoft.
Absolutely.
They're still.
But I mean, Amazon could probably not fix those problems and still be fine.
Right.
We could not fix those problems and still be fine and just keep doing what we're doing and providing this, thing. But I have my personal saying is I'm always grateful, but I'm never satisfied.
Right.
And I'm always grateful for what we've got and the people and everything that we're doing. But my ambition is still going to make me want to figure out a better way or do something better or how can we get our employees a better benefits package? How can we recruit better employee, better talent, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, becoming a destination workplace starts with culture.
Absolutely. We want people to want to come work for us.
Yeah. It's getting back to the Dream Motor Company, CEO. He calls the letter CEO or Chief Culture Enforcement Officer is how he looks at it.
Yeah.
And he came up, based on a lot of consulting, I'm sure. They're big on like the culture coin approach to things, rewarding people like that inside the organization. And for that, he's got people with a ton of tenure, just a lot of assistance. Like they were the first dealership that I saw doing the Mercedes brand the right way. That's what I sold in Cool Springs for a season was Mercedes. And that dealership, we did the best we could with the resources we had.
Right.
But because they were knocking 10 to 15% off of every car, it didn't give you much bandwidth to do other things like the salespeople handling the delivery of the vehicle to the customer. Like typically Mercedes would ideally have a concierge doing that.
Right.
To free up the salesperson to go get another sale.
Sure.
But we were handling all that. Coming out of radio, I was just used to that, wearing a multitude of hats.
Yep.
You know, one industry into another where they, you know, like, oh, we're going to pay you for one gig, but you're going to wear 5 or 6 different positions. And I just didn't know any better. And once you start realizing that you'd go to these trainings that Mercedes would do corporate, and they were world-class trainings, and they would talk about all the ways that we should be doing. I'm like, I agree with you. I completely wholeheartedly, but you have any idea what's happening on the front lines?
Right,
I mean, you guys are completely tone deaf here. And I actually it was funny. I spoke up at one of those trainings, and they pulled me aside afterwards because I said, you know, the one thing you guys aren't addressing, I said, I love the fact that you want us to have relationships with our clients, you know, honor the brand and represent the brand because it's a great brand to the best of our ability. But there's one thing that you're missing. Well, what's that? This is in front of an entire classroom of people from all sorts of Mercedes dealerships across the region. Compensation.
Right.
And they were like, what do you mean? I said, do you have any idea what's happening on the front lines? Us guys that are actually greeting your customers. And, you know, every time we turn around, our dealerships are like stealing from us.
Right.
I said, that's not fun, you know? And, they pulled me aside and said, where are you from? I said, do I really need to tell you? I said, you probably know anyway. And they said, based on your region and your territory, we're aware of the problem and we're in the midst of figuring it out.
Oh, okay.
And that's when actually we got wind that another point was coming to town. That was the Music City location.
Yeah.
With a different ownership group. They didn't want the same ownership group. Mm-hmm. So it was like, well, that's refreshing. That's good.
It's not who I work for, but
no. But if I stayed in the business, I probably would have ended up working for them. But because of, you know, it was a season in life where I had to basically learn sales.
Sure.
I was aware of sales and selling before that, but to your point, I didn't have really a formal process that I knew about. And that business teaches you.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, my goodness.
Well, you probably get a lot of opportunities.
A lot of at-bats every single day.
That's why it takes a minute to get your average up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got to the point where I could see the way someone was driving onto the lot and go, they're buying today. I just knew, you know, and I like doing it. Like to this day, if our business really starts get rocking and rolling, or maybe I exit or whatever, and I've got a nice little nest egg leverage, so to speak, I would just go do it for fun.
Go sell some cars.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I really did.
That's fun.
Tell me about, what do you believe about what you do? Like, why do you get out of bed every morning? If you can define that.
Well, you know, I have responsibilities. You know, my family, my kids. That's the number one reason.
Yeah.
Number two is I also have a responsibility to the people that work with us, that are employees of the company. You know, I think that I made a commitment to them when I offered them a position that they would have somewhere to work. And so I feel a responsibility to them to provide that place. And then on top of all that, then comes just my motivation to, you know, I don't want to lay around, and I do have plenty of hobbies and I would keep myself super busy, but how is that contributing to society? And am I really contributing in a meaningful way? Well, I think the way that we are is we're providing a safe place to work. We're providing a living for a lot of people, and just giving people some opportunities that maybe wouldn't get it otherwise. And so that's motivating to me.
Yeah.
And then below all of that is it's working.
Yeah.
The company is profitable, where I built something that is like a house and now it's working.
So you feel like you work for your people? Like a more of a bottom-up strategy?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, and matter of fact, I'm trying to shift more towards that than we have been. And I'm trying to we're trying to get a little bit of a culture shift going on that is all about positivity and reinforcement and acknowledgement and just really reinforce the good hard work that these guys are doing.
And a lot of these kinds of questions, because I've done a lot of work, again, with the Mercedes dealerships, the Dream Motor Group, from a video perspective, having interviews with various people, and they own like 9 dealerships now. And I would always ask them, at the end of the day, what does it all mean to the final, the customer?
Yeah.
What is the notion you want them to get from your company?
That we care.
Yeah.
I mean, that honestly, we're committing to providing a service to our customers, and we want to make sure that we are. Mm-hmm. Even if there's problems, even if there's things like that, we're still going to come back and fix it and make sure it's right, and to make sure that you're happy.
Yeah.
That with the experience that we've provided.
Right. What's the most profound thing that was said to you about your company from a customer that you've heard it and you're like, ooh, that's really good, I'm going to file that away? Those moments that you get?
It's simple as it sounds. I think a customer said to me one time, he said, the greatest thing about working with you guys is that you answer the phone.
Really?
And you pick up, and if you don't, you call back, or if we send you an email, you're back on it really quickly. It's just the communication piece, and not just leaving somebody in the dark.
Isn't that it's so simple, but it's
so
simple. Huge.
It's simple, but it's huge.
Like everything that we do.
Yeah. It's extremely rudimentary, but it's harder than you think when you're being intentional about it.
Yeah.
Because there may be times at the end of the day where it's 4 or 5 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I'm just so ready to be done. But I need to call this person back.
See, I have the attitude of I'm not allowed to be done. We're still in the midst of, at our point in our business, I think we've probably got the foundation built. We're just starting to put sticks up, and we don't have the luxury of, it drives me nuts when I hear, business coaches, gurus out there that are saying, well, you really need to work on your business. Like, dude, you don't get that privilege until you have worked in it.
I agree. I feel like some of the most frustration I get is when I'm unable to work on the business because there's so much in it we still have to do.
Yeah.
And I'm still very much an active role in the company. I mean, I'm kind of the salesperson at this point, and that keeps me very busy. On top of kind of being the owner and owner responsibilities and that kind of stuff. But at some point, I have a list 3 pages long of projects to work on the business.
Right. You don't wonder if guys like Bezos and Bill Gates feel like they're still working in their business. I mean, they're so huge at this point, but
I hope, I would think that those guys still are motivated by the business and still want to improve it. Yeah. And like I said, growth is defined in many different ways. And I hope that they are seeing opportunities to give back even more, or somehow improve their company.
Oh, yeah. Even local giants here, you got the Freeman Webb. We've done some business with them in the past in another organization, and those guys are still showing up every day, man.
They show up. They go to work.
Yep.
And
they don't really have to.
They don't have to, but there's something to be said for it. I think it sets a good example for those around you, whether that's your kids or just your people. Mm-hmm. And You know, my dad still gets up every morning and goes to work. And there's just something to be said about that.
It's purpose.
Yeah, there's a purpose.
My father-in-law is 82 and he still gets up, goes in.
Yeah.
You know, what in the carpentry field, what's one of the more enjoyable things that you like doing if you had to put the tool belt on? And
I always loved the trim work. The mill work was just very satisfying for me. It was fine craftsmanship type stuff. That's what I really liked the most, and because that's what people would see and be like, ooh and ah and everything. Mm-hmm. But there's also something really satisfying about framing, and because it's fast and like you can get out there with like 3 guys and you're like, wow, we just framed a whole roof today. Like, Isn't that awesome? That was not there this morning. And we're leaving now, and look at that. We got a roof on it.
Well, very cool, man. How do people find and follow you?
You can Google Merrill Construction Group, hit our website up at www.merrillconstructiongroup.com.
That's 2 R's, 2 L's.
That's 2 R's, 2 L's. Nice. And then you can also call us at the office, 615-509-2011. We love to talk to anybody about projects, and even those that aren't a great fit for us, we'll tell you that, but we're happy to help in any ways, and we'll give suggestions and things like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, as always, guys, everything's going to be in the description, all the contact information, the website. Again, Merrill Construction Group, 2Rs2Ls.com. Go and check those guys out. If you're looking to do a remodel or a large or small project, definitely hit them up. All that information. And of course, if you want to hit us up to be on the show or find and follow us, if you've gotten some value out of this, share it with somebody. Everything is at mmtbp.com. mmtbp.com. Mr. Hilson, thank you for coming on by.
Thanks for having me.